Welcome to Lesson 5 for Intro to Java. I am Cindy, and today we are going to talking about for loops. Also, for those of you who missed it, Gabe, our TA, is not going to be here. So if you have any questions, speak up because I will not be able to monitor the chat all the time. Okay, lesson objectives. First, introduce what a for loop is, and then the components and the parts of the condition. And then I will demo for you guys in Replit, and you guys can make your own shape. Of course, the activity is called make your own shape, but of course you guys are not limited to making shapes. You can incorporate in if and scanner and everything else to make whatever you guys want to make. And then those of you who didn't finish the activity last time can continue working on that activity. And then at the end of the class, we can share. If you guys got anything interesting, you guys can share it with the class. That's about it. All right, so let's talk about what actually is a for loop. So for loop is used when you want to print out something repeatedly, or not just print out something, just do something repeatedly. So for example, I think the most commonly way it's used is for printing stuff out. So repeatedly printing out a line or repeatedly printing out a character, stuff like that. And for loop is used when you know how many times you want to repeat the statement. So this is the general structure that for loops look like. You can take a look. It's very similar to how if loops look like, except for loops don't have for loops only have for, unlike if, which has if, else if, that all that stuff. For loop only have the for. And now let's talk about the components of a for loop. So first, again, we initialize the for loop by typing out the word for. And then usually there's a space and we start the open parentheses. Now, again, like the if loop, what's in the parentheses is the condition. And the for loop only executes if the condition is true. The moment the condition becomes false, it stops executing, exits the for loop, and moves on to whatever that comes afterwards. Anything that's in the parentheses is the condition, and the condition has to be true for the for loop to execute. If it's not true, the for loop stops executing and moves on to what comes afterwards. Again, the large squiggly parentheses, bracket, open bracket, is where is the start of what is to be executed. And in here, you can see there's system.out.print I, and this is the statement that is going to be executed. And then we can start like the end of the for loop. This is the end of the for loop, or what is to be executed. Nothing will be executed after this. Nothing that's part of the for loop will be executed after this. If you want it to be part of the for loop, you have to move it between these two squiggly brackets. So parts of the condition. So the condition is a very vital part of what a for loop is. Without the condition, you can't really execute a for loop because the computer will throw an error and be like, I don't know what you're talking about. So the condition has three parts, and they're separated by semicolons. Now, usually semicolons, when we use it in other parts of Java, it's saying, well, this is where the command ends, but that's not technically true for. It's just how things work. I don't know why. Semicolons in this case just signifies that there are different parts of the condition. So the condition has three parts. The first part is initialization. Initialization initializes an int. So for the purpose of this class, we will only be initializing ints in for loops, and ints are usually named I, and the letters that follow J, K, L, M, N, O, P. I don't know why we usually name them I. It's just like a convention that people do, just like you know formatting conventions and that stuff. And once we initialize it, we usually set it to 0. You can always set it to 1 or 3 or 5 or like any other number, but we usually set it to 0. And then we do the semicolon, and then we have a condition. And the condition is saying that as long as I is smaller than 10, the for loop will continue to run. Once I becomes greater than 10, or equal to 10, or greater than 10, the for loop will terminate. Well, how does I change though? That's the next part, and third part and last part, the iteration. The iteration tells the for loop that each loop is going to be different. And if the difference is going to be, in this case, the difference is going to be I that increases by 1. So if you guys remember, plus plus means I increases by 1. So each time it runs through the for loop, I will increase by 1. So for example, at the beginning, I will equal to 0. Okay. Let me demonstrate by inserting a text box. So let's say try 1, and the statement that is inside the for loop is system.out.println 1. So try 1, it executes 1, so it prints out 1. Wait, that's not a good example. Let's say try 1 prints out demo. So it prints out the word demo 1 time. And then try 1 starts out with I equals 0. And since I is smaller than 10, the 0 is smaller than 10, the condition is true, we continue to execute. Try 2, the second time, so after executing what's in the condition, the for loop go back. So like, for example, right here, the computer comes here, sees a for loop, and then verifies the condition is true, and then goes in and prints out whatever back to the top and see if the condition is true. Again, the condition is true, and then it continues to print out until the condition is no longer true, right? So try 2, I increase by 1. So now I equals 1. Now I is still 1 is still less than 0, less than 10, so it prints out the word demo again. Now notice that demo has already been printed out once, so this would actually demo be printed out for the second time. And it will continue to do this until I think try 10. So try 10, I would be equal to 9, and I would be less than 10. Now it prints out the word demo again. Now try, and see, this is still true. So the computer will go back to the top and take a look and try 11. I is now, because I increases by 1 each time, I is now 10. Now 10 is not smaller than 10. 10 smaller than 10 is false, so it would not print anything out. That's how a for loop basically goes. Now, don't worry if you don't get it. If you have any questions, please ask. But if you don't actually quite get it, that's okay. I'm gonna demo in Replit one more time. So for loop, let's make a for loop int I equals 0. I can't type today. I is smaller than equal to plus 10 again, and then I plus plus. Now let's say I want to print out the word How many times do you guys think that print will be printed out? How many times do you think print will be printed out? Enter the number that you think will be number of times print will be printed out in the chat. Okay. 10. Any other answers? There's not gonna be any other answers. I will click on comment. Oh, wait. Okay, an extra. My bad. Okay, so smiley face thinks it's going to be 11 times. So let's count. So it's printed out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 times. And the reason for that is I is smaller than 10. So let's go through it. Smiley face, you made a very common mistake that a lot of beginners make. And the reason for that is, so the first time it goes to the loop, I equals to 0, and 0 is smaller than 10, right? So it prints out print. Second time, I equals to 1 because I plus plus, right? I plus plus means I increases by 1. And when I increases by 1, 0 turns into 1. So 1 is still smaller than 10. And since 1 is still smaller than 10, the condition is true. So we print. Now, let's do it third time, fourth time, fifth time, sixth time, seventh time, eighth time, ninth time, and 10th time. Let me just fix the numbers here. Third time, I turns into 2, 4, and so on, and so forth. Now this, remember, is the 10th time. This is first time, second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, sixth time, seventh time, eighth time, ninth time, 10th time. Yeah, 10th time. Anyway, I can't speak. 10th time. And then since the 10th time the condition is true, the computer will continue to increase I and go back to the top. Now 11. Anyways, 11th time. So since I continues to increase, I now turns into 10. So for the 11th time, I turned into 10. And 10 is not smaller than 10. 10 is equal to 10. And notice I said here, I is smaller than 10, not I minus smaller than or equal to 10. So since 10 smaller than 10 is a false statement, the program terminates. It does not print anything out, and the for loop ends. And if it ends, it moves on to the next line, but the next line, there's nothing. All of this is commented out, so the program terminates. See, now let's add a little bit of spice. How many times do you think print will be printed out when I run this one? Okay, 11 times. Anybody else? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Exactly, you are right. 11 times it is printed out. So now let's make it a little bit more complicated. How many times do you think this will be printed out? You think this will be printed out 15 times? Good, good. Anybody else? One student think is 10, 11. Okay, good, good. Does anybody else want to take a guess? Okay, well, I will run the program then. A smiley face think is going to be run 14 times. Okay, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this is actually quite tricky because I started from 4 and I changed the condition, but let's go through it. The first time I starts out as 4. And then since it increases by 1 each time, it goes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 14. Okay, so if we take a look at that, 14 is smaller than or equal to, yeah, I need to change all this 14. Fourteen is smaller than or equal to 14. So this is a true statement. This is a true statement, okay? And because this is a true statement, we print. And then let's take a look at 12th time. 12th time, I continue to increase, which means it is now 15. Now, is 15 smaller than or equal to 14? It's not true. That is a false statement. 15 is not smaller than or equal to 14. So this means that nothing is printed out. For loop ends, and then the computer moves on to the next line. Okay. See, this is actually quite tricky. So if you got it wrong, don't be discouraged. There's nothing wrong with getting this wrong. I often get it wrong. Like when I'm setting up the condition for the for loop, I often get it wrong and think to myself, wait, is that how many times it's supposed to be printed out? So it's not always easy peasy. Okay, now let's talk about a different variation. So do you guys still remember what minus means? X minus plus 1. Do you mean x minus equals 1? Yes, exactly. Very good, very good. So I minus means I minus equals 1, which means I decrease by 1. So in this case, let's walk through this one more time. So now I starts out as 10, and the condition is I has to be greater than or equal to 1. Greater than or equal to 1. No, 0, my bad. And so on the first try, first time I is equal to 10. And let me turn my fan on. It's getting really stuffy in this room. I is equal to 10. 10 is greater than or equal to 0. So then, since this condition is true, we print out print. All right. Okay, so second time, since every iteration, the I now decreases. So remember, I changed this from I plus plus to I minus minus. So I is now going to be decreasing. So since it's decreasing, it's now 9, 8, oops, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. 2, 1, and 0. So 9 is greater than or equal to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, wait, 1. Sorry, so is that how you say your name? Sorine? Oh, William. Oh, you changed your name. Oh, well, I didn't notice. Okay, anyway, William, can a for loop be like for int I equals 1, I is greater than or equal to 20? I plus equals to, it can be, but whatever's in there just won't be printed out. So hold your question for a minute, William. After I go through this, I will answer your question like more completely. So first time we can see first time it's 10, and then because it's I minus minus, that's the change that we have in each loop. It decreases by 1 until it reaches the 0. Now this is the 11th time, I think. So 11th time. It's the 11th time I equals to 0, and then 0 is greater than or equal to 0. So it's true. So it turns into print. Now for the 12th time, is how you spell 12? I continues to decrease, so it turns into -1. And now -1 is not greater than or equal to 0, so this is not true. And since it's not true, it will not print anything out. And it will for loop and then move on to next question. All right. Now, William has a very good question, so let's try that out. Now remember, if I would initialize this a lowercase, you will always need to have it as a lowercase because again, Java is case sensitive. If you change it from a lowercase and to uppercase, Java will throw an error because the uppercase.
That was just autocorrect.
That was autocorrect? Oh, okay. Just clearing the misconception up for other people who might have the similar problem. So I think it will either throw an error or not run anything at all because the condition is not true. So my computer is really slow.
You forgot an opening bracket at the end of the for statement.
Oh, that's why. Thanks for reminding me. And nothing gets printed. So the reason for that is a very good question too, William. So the reason for that is actually because the condition is not true again. So I starts out as 1, and then the condition is I has to be greater than or equal to 20, right? So for the first try, so let's do the first try. First time, and I is equal to 0, and then I is equal to 1, my bad. I is equal to 1. And then 1 greater than or equal to 0, greater than or equal to 20, that is not true. That is not true. Since it's not true, nothing gets printed. Nothing gets printed, and then the for loop terminates, and it moves on to the next next line. And since there is no next line, everything else is commented out. That's basically like the program just ends.
What if you change the I is greater than or equal to a less than or equal to?
Less than or equal to? Yes, that would definitely work because first, now I is less than or equal to 20. Now this turns into true. So 1 is less than or equal to 20. And so this turns into true. Now, after this question, we can go have a short 3-minute break. But how many times do you guys think print will be printed out if I print, if I click run? Put your answers in the chat. William think it's 10, okay. I think it's actually supposed to be printed out 9 times. Well, since it's not running, we will do this. I will do this by hand. That's okay. So the first time I equals to 1, and then second time I will equal to 3 because we are plus equals 2, right? So every time now, instead of increasing by 1, I is increasing by 2. So since I is increasing by 2, 1 plus 2 equals 3. So the second time I equals to 3. First time I equals to 5. Copy. Formatting. Good formatting actually doesn't matter when you have commented out code. I just like things to be a little bit more clean. So 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, and 21. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So less than or equal to 20. So for first time, second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, sixth time, seventh time, eighth time, ninth time, 10th time. 10th time. So this is still true. 19 is still smaller than, less than or equal to 20. And then for the 11th time, 21 is not less than or equal to 20. So this is not true. And then so 10. For loop 10. So William and Smiley Face, you guys are correct in that it runs 10 times. I think I seem to have internet problems, which is why IntelliJ is not IntelliJ. Replit is not running. So I will be using another source of another IDE called IntelliJ. Now, if you can still use Replit, if you have a stable internet connection, you can still use Replit. I'm using another IDE, IntelliJ, because I don't, Replit doesn't seem to be working for me for some reason. Great. So, can you guys see my screen? All right, so now let's run public voice string. Right. So now let's run this one. So run. Right, so it's printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. If this makes it any clearer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 times. So William and Smiley Face, you guys are correct in that it is printed out 10 times. If there are no questions, I will make one last demonstration and we can be done with this. Make it 5. So this might be a little bit harder, maybe a little bit easier for some of you guys. Let's give it until 3:41. Put your answers in the chat. And then I will click run so you guys can see what the answer is. Okay, William thinks it's 4 times. Anybody else? Does anybody think it's 5 times? Is that it? Is William the only one? Now, even if you don't want to put your answer in the chat, you can still like write down your answer. You don't really have to share it. If you don't want to, as long as you're doing the exercise along with me, even if you don't share it, that's okay. But I would prefer if you share it so I can get a hang of where everybody is right now. So it's 3:41 already, so let's run the program. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. William, unfortunately, you are wrong. Even though you are really close. I mean, good job. You still got like something that's really close to the answer. And now let's walk through this. So the first time, I is equal to 25. second time I is equal to 20. So since 25 minus 5 is equal to 20, third time I is equal to 15. Fourth time I is equal to 10, and then ultimately fifth time I is equal to 5. Now, very important note. I would like everyone's eyes of where I highlighted I is greater than or equal to 5. Now, if I had made it I is greater than 5, William would have been right. Because if I is greater than 5 and the fifth time I turned into 5, then I would not, then the condition I greater than 5 would be not true. And if it's not true, the for loop ends. Okay? Now, instead of printing, let's just print I. Yeah, let's run it one more time so you guys can see. So C is 25, 20, 15, and 10. Because 5 is not greater than 5, so when I turn into 5, the program checks and it sees the condition is not true and it stops. So let's, I don't know if we have time for, okay, so I will do one last demonstration, and after that, I will release you guys to, make your own projects and make your own shapes and stuff. And then we might not have enough time to share with class, but that's okay. Okay, instead of, let's make it O. And let's make it 5 lines. These. Okay. Can anybody guess what it's gonna print out? Oh wait, my bad. Sorry about that. Well, instead of numbers, it's going to print out, it's actually going to print out shapes now. So you guys can see here it printed out a rectangle. And if I, modify the code, we can print out, oh, it's actually supposed to be a square because it's like 5 by 5, but because of the way it's formatted, it doesn't really look like a square. Maybe this will make it look like more of a square. Yeah, that looks more like a square now. So you can actually print out shapes, and this is a 5 by 5 shape. We can do a 5 by 9 shape. This is a 5 by 9 shape. Yes, that's a good idea. Let's use that. Okay, that's actually 2 spaces. So yeah, that does look a little bit better. But anyway, you can use that to make shapes. Thinking how to, yeah. If I make it like this, this should give us a rectangle. No, not rectangle, triangle. Yeah, so this gives us a triangle. You can also do that. You can also, make a, different triangles, like, the different dimensions. If we change this to like 9, oh no, 8. If we change that to 8, see that that's now a bigger triangle. So I was planning on giving you guys like 10 minutes to do the project, but I don't think um, that's okay. I'll give you guys 10 minutes to make your own shape. Now, you don't, it can be something that I've already made, but you can add your own twist to it. It doesn't really have to be a shape at all. Like you can make a trapezoid or like a heart, or I mean, a trapezoid is a shape. You can make something that's like really weird looking. It's all up to you and your imagination. You can also use if and for and scanners. If you need help, just send me a message in the chat. I can help you if you don't remember how to use if and scanners. You can basically use everything that we've utilized in this class so far. And because due to the time constraint, if you want to share your project, you will have to finish a little bit early and also like send your project to me. But I think that's everything I have about to say the in-class activity. So now go and do your activity. So it's about time. That 3 more minutes until class is over. If you have a project that you want to share with the class, you can, tell me in the chat or just speak up. If no one wants to share, and I totally get that, some people doesn't want to share their project with other people, that's okay. I can share my project that I did. And so what I did is that I made a heart. So you guys can see this is the heart I made, and this is the code I have. It looks like a lot, but I promise it's actually not a lot. So if we run this, this is what it looks like, a heart. And what I did is that I separated it into 3 different parts: the top of the heart, the middle of the heart, and the bottom of the heart. So the top of the heart is these 2 lines, the first 2 lines. See it like that. And then the middle of the heart is the middle 2 lines. I can't comment this part out. Oopsies, what did I click on? Right. The middle of the heart is the middle two lines, that are like the widest, also the widest part of the heart. And the bottom line is the triangle part. That's the triangle parts. That's the bottom of the heart. Yeah, like that. And together they make a heart. So, and I used for loops the entire time. I use for loops the entire time, and you can see I use like obviously a lot of for loops. And the advantage of using for loops is that basically if you want to change the dimensions, as long as it's proportional, you can easily change the dimensions. I don't have enough time left in this class to demonstrate, but you can basically see here, for the first part, I printed out the little pocket of space that's right here, and then I printed out the first trapezoid-like tip of the heart, and then I printed out the space that's here and the trapezoid part of the heart that's here. And then for the middle of the heart, I just printed out 2 lines, and then for the bottom of the heart, I printed out the increasing triangle, and then the decreasing O's, bunch of O's. All right, so Yeah, if you want to share your project with the class, you can, stay after. Or if you have any questions or you want to share anything with me, you guys can feel free to stay after class. But as of right now, class is officially over. Anybody who's not, who doesn't have any questions or who doesn't want to share, you can feel free to go. I will see you guys Friday. So, bye.